have our consent agenda, which are the minutes from our last general meeting on May 21st. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, recognitions, Dr. Frazier.
Good evening, board members, and yes, I do have a few recognitions for this month. I want to start by recognizing all of our students, our staff, and our families for a successful 23-24 school year. Can we give it up for the We made it. We had our graduation, but we also want to recognize our graduates. It was definitely a successful school year, and we are proud of that. And we cannot do it without our school board members, our families, without our entire West Point community. I also want to recognize our girls soccer team who made it to the state semifinals. We are very proud of those girls. And then the boys soccer team who made it to the state playoffs, and they played hard. So and I have three special people, three of them here, that I would like to recognize. And so we will start with Lily Hixenbaugh. Y'all can clap for her. And so, Whitney, Ms. Hixenbaugh has been here in the division for the last 11 years, and we are thankful for all that you have done, for your creativity, for the inspiration, for all the support that you have provided, not only to West Point Elementary School, but to our entire school division, and the lives that you have touched. You will always be family, so don't go too far, don't have too much fun, we might need you back. But we hope that you enjoy your retirement. So I want to say thank you for everything.
Thank you. Okay.
And next, so I went to the school the other day, and this man was working hard, like he's not going anywhere. And I told him, I said, it's okay to stay. He said he's gonna step away for a little while, but you never know what might happen. So, Mr. Banks. For the last 27 years. And before working for the schools, he worked for the town. And when you talk about someone being so dedicated to their job and dedicated to making sure that our buildings were clean, were safe, and that the crew was doing what they needed to do every day, we appreciate you. We know that you worked hard and that you were and that you gave your all to West Point Public Schools. And so thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you. There you go.
All right. And last but not least, if you work in public education, you know that there are lots of people that they say are important in the school, right? They say the principals are important, they say assistant principals are important, but those people don't mean anything. The people that really run the show are the people who sit at that front desk, and they have the pulse on every single thing that goes on in that building. And for the last 31 years, Carolyn Taylor has given her life and her dedication to West Point Public Schools. And for that, we are proud and we are happy. Say like I'm one of you. 5 o'clock in the morning, she's getting messages about teachers that are out. She's making sure that classes are covered. She is protecting her principal at all times, protecting her teachers, making sure that all the students know where they need to go and where they need to be. She knew everybody in that school. Like, we appreciate everything that you have done. Even this week, she made sure that honor roll report was sent. Made sure that she's like still making sure that everything is taken care of, and that nothing misses a beat in the building. And we are so, so happy that you have been here with us for the last 31 years. But as we've talked about, you're not going anywhere. You take a little break, but we will have things for you to do.
I have to say, I have been very blessed. We're very lucky with where we are. That's from my heart. We're blessed.
Thank you.
Don't give me no hook.
Yeah, you want
I believe those are all of my recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier. It's definitely bittersweet. Like, we thank you all for your contributions, and we're happy for you to do something else now. But just know that you're a part of what we are, and because of people like you guys that make our schools great. So we really appreciate it. Wish you health and happiness in your community efforts. Dr. Frazier said. All right. Up next, I see no presentations or reports. All right. That, okay. Items under study. First up, the 24-25 crisis plan. Mr. Wallace.
Good evening. So this evening, I just wanted to bring to you our annual review of our crisis plan. So each year, it's required by divisions to review their division crisis plan and obviously make any changes or additions that may be needed to make sure that that crisis plan is up to date. And so I believe in the packet that you all received, you have an executive summary of the changes that we made throughout that document. Some of the ones, just kind of key things. One, every year, obviously we have staff that change, right? So we change staff members, titles, positions, and we just want to make sure all that information is updated. At times, we also look at removing or adding additional members of our crisis team just to make sure we feel like we're covering all of our bases. And so you would see some of those changes specifically on page 14 and towards the end when you look at down to the appendix where it kind of lists people's titles and the individuals. Some of the other things we added of note was Catapult EMS, as we kind of added that to our procedures and process of responding to an emergency. So you'll see that a couple times in that document. We added that as its own page 28. It's kind of its own statement about its purpose, how we use that, and then how it's serving our staff members throughout an emergency and a crisis as our internal communication mechanism that we use. It's also identified again in our plan. It defines communication. What types of communications are used during a crisis? And so it's anything from telephone messages to intercom. And I felt it was necessary, and we all did, as we discussed that, is adding Catapult into that form of communication because we are using that. And so you'll find that as well on page 51 listed on how we use that as our form of communication. And then another thing that we did this year as a result of our Health and Safety Committee, we wrote a Narcan policy for the division. And so we also had a training in October, which we had a number of our staff members who got the Narcan administration certification. And so we went in and updated individuals that would serve with they have some medical training, so CPR, EpiPen. We also went ahead and added the Narcan administration training to those individuals. And you will see that that's listed twice because that is a section that is kind of identified 2 times in our plan. First, kind of identifying who those individuals are, but then later on as a response to an emergency, again, who do we look for in responding to those specific emergencies and who has those trainings. We do have that document at the school board office. Obviously, it's a sensitive document. We'll keep it in the school board office like last year. If you would like, and I encourage you over the next month to have an opportunity to come review it, just reach out to me or anyone else in the school board office and we can set that up.
Mr. Walker. All right, next we have the code of conduct for next year, Ms. Ball.
Good evening. So I'm going to review some highlights. We kind of went through the code of conduct a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of the changes that needed to be made were simply alignment to make sure. One of the things as we roll through the year, I'm sort of a policy person, and to make sure that our student code of conduct lines up with our written policies and lines up with state code. So a lot of the changes you see highlighted are simply bringing our code of conduct into line with what we have as written policy as well. A couple of the highlights, the 4th bullet point down, I believe it is, potential loss of parking pass due to excessive tardies. We are really taking a hard look this summer at attendance, tardies, excused and unexcused, how we're coding things. Mr. Hudgens and I met yesterday to talk about the athletic policy and how we're handling student athletes who consistently turning absence. So you might see some of that rolling out, but we're starting from a baseline of what do our procedures look like, you know, making sure our procedures are tight so that we're dealing with exactly what we need to handle. So that's going to be on a consistent review. Just bear in mind, and there's kind of a disconnect. I know in the past, you know, a lot of times when kids were excessively tardy, there used to be consequences such as they get ATS, they get in-school suspension. In the state of Virginia now, you cannot give a consequence removing a student from an educational environment for being tardy. So, you know, we're looking at some other ways to give appropriate consequences for these kinds of things. You know, there's a change this year, parent excused absences 10 per year as opposed to 5 per semester. That's something we're also talking about, making sure we get out there to parents. You know, if you use your 10 by Christmas, you're done. So, but they need to be aware that that's, that could be happening. Clarifying the process, about halfway down on administrative failure. West Point Public Schools has a policy of in one semester, if you have 12 unexcused absences from a class, you receive an F for that semester. What wasn't clear in the code of conduct that our policy also offers an appeals process. So at the semester this year, for example, I had probably 3 or 4 students who fell in that category, and we did an appeals meeting with the parent, the student, the teacher, and myself. Truthfully, that ended up being fabulous because those were the parents we needed to see. We got them in the building, we talked about attendance, made attendance plans. Teachers were able to communicate pertinent information at that time. So that is just that while it's been in policy, it was not clear in the student code of conduct, and so now that's much more clear, and that's the process. I think it's important for you as a board to know the state mandates that we begin an investigation of any bullying report within 24 hours. So our code of conduct was updated to reflect the state mandate in that section. We also added earbuds and headphones to the cell phone policy. We found at the end of the year, the kids were doing okay with the cell phones, but then we added wireless connections to all kinds of external devices. So we are just trying to tighten up and continually tighten that up. A lot of these things, again, when you see the codes, BSCs, this again was realigning our level responses to what's in our policy. Another one that is good to note that got put back or expanded in our student code of conduct is we added information about self-defense, threat assessments handled with care. So these are the threat assessments that parents and guardians need to understand that if their student makes a threat at school, or if a student makes a threat against their own student at school, there is a team that gets convened. And I think that was not communicated well and needs to be, because that is the process that we use to make sure that any threat is handled, interventions are put in place, and that is a very comprehensive team. It includes administration, law enforcement, school counseling, a teacher. It can include a parent guardian. So that's just really, a lot of this is just information. Parents need to be aware of what's in place that we do, as well as the handle with care piece. And we've clarified a lot of bus things that weren't clear. We also clarified in there, you know, kids go to the bus stop and they think, I'm not on the school bus yet, so I can do what I want. And I think that just needs to be clear that a school bus stop is school property. And so, you know, if you're vaping at your school bus stop, that counts, so to speak. So a lot of clarifying for parents and for students. One of the things Ms. Ball and I have discussed is, because in the last 5 to 8 years, there have been a lot of changes in state code with the SBAR and things, to making sure this year that not just students and parents, but also staff are aware of current procedures. You know, we have a lot of staff that's very veteran, and they're, you know, some of them are like, oh, I thought that was in student code of conduct. No, it's not. So we're planning a way to review with teachers, staff, students, and parents what we actually can do. You know, I had a teacher come and say, they're tardy 5 times, we need to suspend them. Well, we can't do that. You know, that's not a thing anymore. But here's what we're gonna do instead. So a lot of this is just awareness and communication as far as the student code of conduct goes. I love a good chart.
I love that we added back in school-based community service.
Yeah.
I remember my oldest, he got in trouble in class for something really small, like not a big deal. And he had to stay after and help clean the classrooms. And I said, that's right. That could really change the mindset of a lot of people. So I love that that's added back in. That's great.
And it's really effective. Students are less likely to damage something they had to clean the day before. And they will look out for it. You know, they will not let other students do that because they just put in some other grease and some pepper. So.
Well, and for some kids, getting in trouble at school doesn't translate at home.
Mm-hmm.
Like my kid gets in trouble at school, they get in trouble at home too, right? But if they have to actually manually do something that affects them personally versus like, oh, I get to stay home for a day, I got suspended, or ISS, oh, I just need sleep, or whatever it is. So I think it's more meaningful in lots of ways. So
I agree.
I like that was added back.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. So I think I have the next
Yep,
one as
good.
well. And just roll on.
Policy, sure, let's keep it straight.
All right. So Mr. Hudgens, who's been doing a fabulous job, he and I, we had a list of things that we wanted to relook at this summer. I will tell you, he and I met yesterday, kind of went through the athletic policy handbook, kind of like Ms. Ball and I did with the discipline code. So you might be seeing some more things. We're just looking at process and procedure. But one of the things that hit the top of our list was 8th grade eligibility. And being a first-year high school principal, I was not aware that 8th graders do not fall under BHSL eligibility requirements, which I still stand in amazement that is not so. So, for example, we did have an 8th grader who failed multiple classes and was still eligible to play. And in our tradition here of excellence, that does not fly. And so the proposal, that we have, and, you know, totally open for discussion, but we, in our West Point athletic policy, want to extend the VHSL eligibility requirements to 8th graders as well. What I found is we had a lot of 9th graders really shocked when they were suddenly ineligible because in 8th grade they played JV and nothing really happened to them. I don't think it sets a good precedent for the student, and it certainly doesn't set a good precedent for us as a school division. So that was kind of the rationale behind our desire to change the West Point athletic policy to include 8th graders.
I agree 100%. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was.
Well, I was a
I
little
think
bored
either.
myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm policy, I went back looking, surely we have something written somewhere to supersede it, and it's not. So I just wanted to make sure we have it, you know, in our policy. It's good too. Yeah, anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Marie.
Absolutely.
Is it the desire of the board to move the athletic policy for the students to an action item tonight?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we can move forward as students are trying out for fall.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to move the 8th grade athletic policy to an action item? A motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, so I will have that labeled as J. Mr. Leach? Yes. Is that last? Good. All right. So we'll start on our action items. First up, expenditures and revenue. I have a motion to approve our expenditures and receive our revenue reports. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We also have, cafeteria expenditures, so I have a motion to approve our cafeteria expenditures.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Personnel. We have a motion to approve our personnel recommendations.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, board members, I would like to introduce the new assistant principal of West Point Middle School and High School, Ms. Jennifer Day. We are extremely proud of her hard work. She rose to the top of the candidates during the interview process. And I had my one-on-one interview. She told me it was a very rigorous process. And so we are extremely proud. Looks like she has some family with her. So you want to introduce her?
My support. Thank you. I am excited about this upcoming school year and helping move this division forward, and I'm excited to be a part of it. So.
You want to tell us who you have with you?
Oh yeah. I have my daughter Sophia, my son Landon, my oldest son Leo. He will be attending West Point Middle School this fall as a 6th grader, and then my husband Freddie, my mom and dad Kathy and Steve. So. It's my big
Thank you for letting
siblings.
us come.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Yes.
We've got both families. The family, and now it's part of the board, well, still part of the board family.
Yes.
So, new role,
Thank
looking forward to it, so appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
All right. All right, donation, we have one donation to approve. No motion.
So moved.
Wow.
Looks fancy.
Yeah, it's not. It's my second show. Did that in jest.
Oh, heaven,
Okay. All Robert's rules of order here. We have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Got some tuition student approvals. First up, we have initial student applications for 24-25. Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have our tuition student renewals for school year 24-25.
And Mr. Chair, at our last meeting, I shared that all of the reviews had come through. And then after the meeting, I learned there was a glitch in an online survey for folks to submit information, and we had a few that did not populate the registration. And so these are those remaining that we get to get done.
These are
These are always.
We have a motion to approve the student renewals for tuition 24-25. We have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Homeschool requests. We have a motion to approve the homeschool students for 24-25.
So moved.
We have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, our consolidated application, which we reviewed last month for 24-25, we have a motion to approve. Motion to approve, second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Our Title III application, which we reviewed last meeting as well. Motion to approve the 24-25 Title III application.
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second? Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Then the last item are athletic policy for 8th graders. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, second. Second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. Anything informational in the packet? Dr. Frazier?
The only thing I would want to bring your attention to is I request that Mr. You will submit the record of enrollment by grade level for the 24-25 school year. You know that these numbers change on a daily basis as we have students moving into the division, but also students that are moving out of the division. But this is where we were as a person, this is on yesterday. And so we will continue to monitor these numbers.
We also put our budget number over there.
That number for the upcoming school year is 77, which is an increase from 2 issues.
Okay. Delegations, Mr. Leach. Next up is our general meeting on the 16th. Will we be here or will we be TBD?
We hope to be back at the school board office.
Okay.
We are currently under construction as we are doing some upgrades to the boardroom, so we can ensure that is a flexible space, not only for board meetings, but so we can have professional learning there for other division activities. So, the flooring is the last piece that needs to be completed, so we're hopeful that by the next board meeting, the form will be completed. We'll be able to have form, and we'll also be sure the public is aware via our website.
Stay tuned for the 16th. Anything else? If not, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
know.